The autumn leaves fell like whispered promises, carpeting the quiet streets of Willow Creek in hues of amber and crimson. In the heart of this small town, where time seemed to pause, stood an old oak tree, its gnarled branches stretching toward the heavens as if guarding a secret. Beneath it, 50 years ago, two young hearts had carved their initials into its bark, E+L. The letters, now weathered and faded, held a story that had begun with a spark and ended in silence, until fate decided otherwise. Elliot Harper was 18 when he first saw Lila Monroe. It was 1975, and the world was alive with the hum of vinyl records and the scent of rebellion. Lila, with her wild auburn hair and eyes like a stormy sea, danced into his life at the town's annual harvest festival. Elliot, a shy boy with a poet's soul, was no match for her fire. She was the daughter of a traveling artist, a free spirit who painted the world in colors Elliot had never dared to imagine. He was the son of a mechanic, grounded in the rhythm of small-town life, but his heart soared when she smiled. Their love was a wildfire, burning bright and fast. They spent stolen nights under the oak tree, whispering dreams of a future where they'd escape Willow Creek together. Lila wanted to paint in Paris. Elliot wanted to write stories that would make the world weep. They promised to be each other's forever, sealing their vows with a kiss as the stars watched. But promises, like leaves, can fall too soon. One crisp October evening, Lila's father announced they were leaving. His art had caught the eye of a gallery in New York, and the family was to move by week's end. Lila begged to stay, but her father's word was iron. Elliot, desperate, proposed they run away together, but Lila, torn between love and duty, made a choice that broke them both. She left without a goodbye, leaving only a note tucked into the oak's hollow. "Elliot, my heart stays with you. Find me in the stars." Elliot was shattered. He stood under the oak every night for a year, hoping she'd return. But Lila was gone, and the stars offered no answers. Life moved on, as it does. Elliot became a teacher, pouring his unspoken love into stories he told his students. He married briefly, a kind woman named Clara, but his heart remained a locked room, with Lila's name etched on the door. He never left Willow Creek, tethered to the oak and the ghost of her memory. Lila's life took her far from Willow Creek. She painted in New York, then Paris, her canvases capturing the ache of a love she could never reclaim. Her art was celebrated, but her heart was a canvas of regret. She married once, too, a gentle man who loved her fiercely, but he could never fill the space Elliot had left. She carried his note, now yellowed and fragile, in a locket around her neck, a reminder of the boy who had been her home. 50 years passed. The world changed. Wars came and went. Technology rushed before. Cities rebuilt. But in Willow Creek, the oak tree stood unchanged, its roots deep in the earth and in Elliot's heart. At 68, Elliot was a man of quiet strength, beloved by his students for his warmth and wisdom. His hair was silver now, his eyes crinkled with years of laughter and loss, but his smile still carried the charm of that boy from 1975. He volunteered at the town library, read poetry to children, and tended the community garden, his hands as gentle with roses as they had been with Lila's heart. One autumn day in 2025, a stranger arrived in Willow Creek. Lila Monroe, now 67, had returned. Her hair was streaked with gray, her face etched with the lines of a life fully lived, but her eyes still held that stormy fire. She had come to settle her late aunt's estate, a small house on the edge of town. Lila hadn't planned to stay long. Too many memories haunted these streets, but fate had other plans. It was at the Harvest Festival, the same one where their love had begun, that their paths crossed again. The air was thick with the scent of apple cider and the sound of laughter. Elliot, helping at a bookstall, was reading a passage from Romeo and Juliet to a small crowd. His voice, warm and steady, carried across the square, and Lila froze. That voice, it was a time machine, pulling her back to nights under the oak. She stepped closer, her heart pounding, and saw him, older, wiser, but unmistakably her Elliot. Elliot's eyes met hers, and the world stopped. The book slipped from his hands, forgotten. "Lila," he whispered, as if saying her name might break the spell. She nodded, tears brimming. The crowd faded, and it was just them, two souls standing in the shadow of 50 years. "Lila," he said again, stepping forward. "You're here." "I had to come back," she replied, her voice trembling. "I had to see if you were still you." They sat under the oak that night, the same tree that had witnessed their youth. The initials E+L were barely visible, but their memories were vivid. Lila told him of her life, her art, her travels, her regrets. Elliot shared his own story, his teaching, his quiet joys, his unspoken longing. They laughed, they cried, and they forgave. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating their reunion. But fate is never simple. Lila revealed a secret she'd carried for decades. She had a daughter, Anna, born 9 months after she left Willow Creek. Anna, now 49, was Elliot's daughter, a truth Lila had hidden to protect him from the pain of her departure. She showed him a photo, a woman with his kind eyes and her wild hair. Elliot's heart broke and mended in the same breath. He had a daughter, a piece of their love he'd never known. "I wanted to tell you," Lila said, her voice cracking, "but I thought you'd moved on. I thought you were happy." "I was never whole without you," Elliot admitted, taking her hand. His touch was as gentle as ever, but now it carried the weight of 50 years. The twist came the next day. Anna, who lived in Chicago, had come to Willow Creek to help her mother with the estate. She arrived unannounced, stepping into the town's cafe where Elliot and Lila were sharing coffee. The resemblance was undeniable. Elliot's smile, Lila's fire. Anna, unaware of the truth, greeted her mother warmly, but her gaze lingered on Elliot, sensing something unspoken. Lila took a breath and introduced them. "Anna, this is Elliot, your father." The cafe fell silent, the clink of cups fading into a cinematic hush. Anna's eyes widened, then softened. She had grown up with stories of a boy who loved her mother under an oak tree, stories that felt like fairy tales. Now that boy was real, standing before her with tears in his eyes. "I'm so sorry I didn't know," Elliot said, his voice breaking. "But I'm here now." Anna, a woman of strength and grace, stepped forward and hugged him. It was a moment of healing, a bridge across 50 years of absence. The three of them spent days together, sharing stories, laughter, and tears. Elliot met his grandchildren, Anna's 2 boys, who called him Grandpa Elliot with shy grins. Lila's paintings adorned the walls of her aunt's house, and Elliot read his old poems to them, his voice weaving their past into their present. But the story wasn't without its final twist. Lila had been diagnosed with a heart condition, one she'd kept secret even from Anna. She confided in Elliot one evening under the oak, her voice steady but soft. "I don't have long, Elliot, but finding you again, it's enough." Elliot's heart clenched, but he refused to let despair win. He organized a community event under the oak, a celebration of love, art, and stories. The town gathered, enchanted by Lila's paintings and Elliot's words. Anna sang a song she'd written, her voice a blend of her parents' spirits. As the night ended, Elliot and Lila renewed their vows under the tree, not with rings, but with a new carving, E+L, forever. The crowd wept, their hearts touched by a love that had defied time. Lila passed quietly a month later, under the oak, with Elliot and Anna by her side. Her final words were, "I found you again." Elliot and Anna grieved, but they carried her fire forward. They started an art and storytelling festival in Willow Creek called the Oak's Promise, ensuring their love story would live on. This is the story of Elliot and Lila, a tale of love lost and found, of hearts that touched across decades. Their story reminds us that love, like an oak, endures, its roots deep, its branches reaching for the stars. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey with Endless Love Story. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Watch until the very end. Every second is magical and worth it. Let's keep the love alive.